I'm going to put you down and bring you back up. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Rocky Miller Podcast, and I am Rocky Miller. I'm gonna put it like this. This is a very hot episode of the Rocky Miller Podcast, and it's not just because BJ Jones is gonna appear on there with me. It's hot because in the middle of the summer in Waco, Texas, my AC decided to have a problem. And though I have every reason to believe that it's too hot to do a podcast, I wasn't gonna let my man BJ Jones down because he made a special accommodation for me to be here today, and I wasn't gonna let him down. So in the heat, in the smoldering heat in Central Texas, I'm still gonna do this podcast, and we're still gonna have a good time doing it. And I'm having cool thoughts as I'm broadcasting this podcast. So with no further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. I'd like to welcome my man, former Southern linebacker, HBCU media personality, none other than my man BJ Jones.
If I could get that. Where my applause at?
There we go. Okay.
See, I hit too many buttons. Oh, there you go.
Hey, BJ, I hit too many buttons, man. See, trying to be fancy, man. I need a producer. One of these days, I'm going to give me a producer. And let me give you the applause you deserve, bro. Hey,
thank
BJ,
you, studio audience. Thank you.
Hey, I want to thank you for coming on today, BJ. I hit you up a couple weeks ago, and I know it was a really busy time for you between all those vacations and anniversaries and all that, man. You were able to fit me in. I want to first thank you for joining me today and also wish you and your lovely wife a happy anniversary. I forget the number you guys are celebrating, but are you up to double digits yet?
No, man. I'm still practically newlywed, man. It's year number 4 for us, man. Year number 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wait.
Man.
Y'all still having a ball, man. Y'all still having a ball.
Oh, man. Loving it, man. Loving it.
Well, that's good. That's good. I got a 16 under my belt, but just like the traditional black family, we've been together 24. You know what I mean? So
yeah. We put it like that. We got 7 under our belt.
Oh, okay. For sure. Well, let's get into it, BJ. So I'm gonna mention the obvious. Everybody knows you're a Southern guy. I had my man Reggie Flood on here. He's a Southern. He bleeds. He bleeds. He's a Southernite through and through, and you have no problem repping that as well. You guys do have something in common, though you guys are Southernites. I consider you guys very objective in your analysis when you guys talking about Southern particularly and sports in general. You guys on what I would consider homers in the space. You guys are guys you're able to be honest about Southern as well as the other schools in the SWAC. However, you do have a kinship, a connection, a relationship deeply with your university, and I completely understand it. Do you think I described you correctly as an analyst as it relates to HBCUs in Southern?
Oh, yeah. You described it perfectly. One of the things that I learned being in this space, a lot of people respect when you're objective, but then at the same time, they will remind you when you're objective and speaking about their school about something that's maybe not the most flattering. What about Southern? And I have to remind them I am not a Southern beat writer. Right? I don't work on the behalf of the university. I I cover HBCU sports, HBCU football in particular, and I have to remind people because they like to bring stuff up. What happens today, what happens this fall on the field is of no consequence to me. All right, people, them championships have already been won. All right, they ain't coming to get them. All right, my accolades have already they are cemented, and nothing gonna change. So that's one thing that I think a lot of people take it really, really passionate, and they like to bring up Southern. I'm like, okay, what about them? I love my alma mater, but I'm able to separate the institution from the football program, and I think a lot of people not able to do that.
And BJ, as you know, I'm a guy that came into the space about 5 years old with Coach Prime, but my sister is a Southernite, so I've always known about HBCUs and how much people in the Southern family love their school and stuff like that. But I wasn't as familiar with the football and the football history. And I'm gonna say something that's, just doing my little research. If you just take the most recent history, it really ain't been 4 schools that play for championships in the SWAC. The 2 Louisiana schools and the 2 Mississippi schools minus Mississippi Valley. I mean, there are 3 there, but Jackson State and Alcorn, in the last 20 years, you could close your eyes and put your finger on any year. Normally, it's either Southern or Grambling or Jackson State or Alcorn. Do you see it that way?
I mean, if you look at it from a historical standpoint, recent history, yes. You look at when the SWAC went into divisions for the first time in '99. I want to say every year, with the exception of 2006 with Arkansas Pine Bluff, you had 2009 with Prairie View, 2010 with Texas Southern, and then you had Arkansas Pine Bluff again in 2012. And then we're going to fast forward, and then we're going to go to 2021 with Prairie View, and then 2023 with Prairie View. Outside of those years, the West has been represented by Southern or Grambling. Like, that's how dominant that run has been on the Western side. In the East, is a little bit more because Alabama A&M has quite a few SWAC championship title appearances. But in the West, it has been dominated by Southern and Grambling.
Okay. With that being said, let's get into a little of your history. Explain to us how long you've been following HBCU sports, SWAC in general, and then, what made you decide when you were a high school athlete to choose Southern as your school of choice? When you're an Alabama guy, you're from Alabama. What made you choose Southern?
All right. So, little history. I come from an HBCU family. From my grandmother all the way down. My grandmother graduated from Alabama State College, what it was back in the day. So she and her siblings, they went the HBCU route. They were they were the first in our family to go off to college and get degrees. And then after that, I had an uncle that played quarterback at Alabama A&M back in the 70s. Had another uncle that played baseball at Alabama State, back in the 70s. My dad was running back at Alabama State in the late 70s and early 80s. So he played football there, also ran track. And then his brother also played at Alabama State. So I had a couple cousins that played at Alabama State. My family was mostly Alabama State, Alabama A&M. My mom is a graduate of Alabama A&M. She was a member of the March in Maroon and White. Had an aunt that marched in the band at Bama State, so it's all Bama State and Alabama A&M. My nieces graduated from Alabama State, marched in the band there. My cousin marched in the band there. I had a cousin, Roshan Farley, was all conference lineman at Alabama State. Another cousin, Jay Newton, was a cornerback at Alabama State. So it was always a family thing, and HBCU football was just a way of life for us, right? I didn't attend a PWI game until I was getting recruited in high school. So all I knew when we talking about going to games was HBCU football, and that's something that my father and my uncles instilled in me because that's where they played at. And they talked about the importance of HBCU football, and imagine what would happen if our kids were to come to our school, because the resources go follow the talent. And I think something that people don't think about. The resources go follow the talent. Well, when I got of age and started being recruited, I'm not gonna lie to you. There was a few HBCUs that I was looking at. The main was Alabama State. I grew up an Alabama State fan. I make no bones about that. Because of who my dad is and what he accomplished down there, his teammates. I was, Alabama State through and through. Crazy recruiting trip, recruiting story. That's how I met Coach Cole, Coach Johnny Cole. He and his brother LC Cole, the head coach of Alabama State, when I was getting ready to come out, Johnny Cole was there in the recruiting time. Man, I forget his name, but he was just a special teams coach. White guy, I can't think of his name. God, I can't think of his name. But he was later. And I had a good time at Alabama State, man. I had some great guys down there that was showing me the ropes, and Alabama State was loaded. Earl Cochran, BJ Tiger, Darnell Kennedy, Rock Dillon, who was my host when I went down there, man. Billy Gresham. They had a squad down there. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Rocky. I was chasing those three letters. At the time, it was D1A, and that was something my father warned me against. And I kind of put the D1AA schools on the back burner and started looking at the D1A schools, and I ended up signing with UAB out of high school. I went there, didn't work out the way that I did. Decided, that's not a place that I wanted to be. But Southern was always in the back of my mind. I remember I can tell you the first time I ever saw Southern University. And that was in 1994 in Mobile, Alabama. We went to see Alabama State play in the Gulf Coast Classic, and they played against the university. And I remember a kid, 9 year old, looking at over there, and they had RVs and the stuff that you would see on TV. They had it. The crowd was loud. The band was rocking, and I remember standing on the sideline with my dad, and I was like, "Who in the hell is that? Like, what is like who are they?" And they played good football, and the crowd was into it. And I remember walking away from that game like, "Where is Southern?" You know what I mean? Like, where is Southern? And then over the years, seeing the Bayou Classic on NBC and learning more. And it only intensified 1999. Southern comes to Birmingham, Alabama to play in the SWAC championship game. And that was the first time I had seen Legion Field where there were people sitting in the upper deck. And the stadium was rocking, and it was loud, and it was Southern in Jackson State. And it was the same thing. Like, oh my God, like the environment these fans create. So I told myself, if I ever get the opportunity to go to Southern, I'm gonna do it. Didn't really hear anything from Southern from high school recruiting high school recruiting was a lot more regional back then when I came out in 2002. But really didn't hear much from them. Heard a lot from Grambling because Birmingham was Gramblingham. That was a Grambling pipeline. So I heard a lot from Grambling, nothing from Southern. So I ended up going to UAB. Things didn't work out, and naturally everybody assumed that I was going to Alabama State. Well, there were some things going on at Alabama State, and as my family is my aunt Doris taught at Alabama State for 40 years. My wife has two aunts that taught at Alabama State uh, for years. My wife's elementary school principal, Dr. Quentin Ross, is now the president at Alabama State. So, my wife and I, we kind of both grew up on the campuses of Alabama State University. So I thought that was going to be the next move. One of my cousins, her father-in-law was the assistant AD at the time, Mr. Burrows, and we was going to make that move. Alabama State was going to be the place. I loved LC Cole. I love Coach Johnny Cole. Liked everything they had going on down there. And someone told me, hey, man, we got some things brewing down here. I don't know what it's going to lead to, but there's some things that are brewing. And we just want to let you know. And my dad, being my dad, was just like, I don't really know if I want my son in that. I want him in the best situation. So he told me, let's kind of open this thing up and look. And at the end of the day, man, it came down to South Carolina State and Southern University. And we said, I mean, if Southern offers, it's a wrap. We're gonna make that move. And Southern looked at the film and they made the move and they offered, and the rest was history.
Oh yeah. So so it was Alabama State until you got and your suspicions, because I know, as you know, I know Johnny Cole very well and have heard all the stories and everything. And your suspicions were true. I don't think Coach Cole them last another season after that.
No, they were gone. They didn't even make it to that season. So that was during the summer. They didn't even make it to the fall. Yeah.
Okay. See, and you made a good choice if you were trying to avoid turmoil, and that's what you absolutely did. Now you on Southern's. So were you familiar with the history of Southern? What at the time Coach Pete Richardson had meant to Southern and things of that nature? Were you aware of all that when you made that decision?
Yes. Yeah. I started following them very close. Knew who Coach Richardson was. Knew what the program was. My dad talked to me about that program. And he told me it's 3 programs. If they come and get you, I can't get mad. He said, if Southern come calling, I can't get mad. He said, if Jackson State come calling, I can't get mad. And if FAMU come calling, I can't get mad. He said, anybody else outside of them 3, it got to be a battle. So we knew what Southern was, the history there, the tradition. By that time, I had seen Southern a few times, and every time I had come away in awe, whether it was Michael Hayes, Terrence Levy, those great teams that they had. I was in awe, and I knew who Pete Richardson was and what he meant, and his record and what he meant to not only HBCU football, but at that time D1 AA football. So yeah, I was very familiar. Now I'm gonna tell you what I was not familiar about. I knew that Southern and Jackson State were rivals. I did not understand to what degree and how intense that rivalry was until I got there. Now, once I got there, it took. I understood, and it don't take long. But yeah, I learned very quick that you don't lose to Jackson State.
Hey, one thing I had the opportunity to be at this past Southern homecoming, And if that's anything like the environment you experienced as a young man, I could consider it could be overwhelming, and a great recruiting tool. I'll say this. I said this to my wife after I came back. That experience at Southern Homecoming was by far the most enriching cultural experience I've ever had in the 54 years I've been living. Hands down. I don't know if there's anything close. I've been to the State Fair Classic. I've been to all those things, but when you talk about what was at Southern that day, when you're talking about all of us sharing and caring with one another, all the music, all the food, everything was us. From the gumbo to the jambalaya to the fried catfish to the music to the going over to where the students were and seeing them celebrate the experience. There's just nothing. There's nothing I had ever experienced quite like it. And then I had the opportunity. My sister gave me her tickets up into the press box, or not the press box, but the club seating, And then I sat up there with the coaches and the coaches' wives, and then they're like they calling plays or about to go out there on the field. It was not the typical press box bougie environment. It was something. Right. It was something else. And not say press box, club level. I just say club level. It was pretty intense, and it was absolutely like I say, the greatest cultural event I'd ever been to, and to experience that year after year. I see how people could look forward to those experiences time after time, because I can be perfectly honest with you, there's not many things that can compare to that. I know people have been to the jazz festivals and all those kind of things, and maybe that's close, but I'm just saying there's been nothing quite like it. As a guy that lives in the bosom of Black culture, is Southern Homecoming a little different than everything else that you experience in the HBCU space, or is it just typical for the HBCU space?
I would say that everybody's homecoming is unique, but Southern's culture, the culture of South Louisiana, makes it a little bit different. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. One of the things that when my wife came aboard was that, hey, we tailgate, but we tailgate a little different in our parts. It ain't just ribs and it ain't just ribs and the sausage. Man, we got boudin, we got crab legs, jambalaya, gumbo. It hits a little bit different. And one of the things golf carts for sure. and my dad used to always say, man, Southern got all the stuff that the white folks got. Everything that you see that the SEC schools have on TV, he would say Southern and Jackson State got all that too. And he would always say that when Alabama A&M came into the league, that first year that Southern went to A&M in '98, that changed a lot, particularly with the Magic City Classic. We talk about the Magic City Classic and that tailgating and stuff now. That's influenced by Southern. That wasn't always the case. That's influenced by Southern. And that's something that my people from A&M talk about. The first time Southern came to Alabama A&M, and it was RVs and stuff everywhere, and they was like, wait, what is this? Hey, what are y'all doing? And to see that, it made everybody else kind of step up their games. And that's something that I always heard, is that if you don't want to be embarrassed, you better show up when Southern or Jackson State come to town, because they will outdraw you. They will show out on you and beat you, and you will be embarrassed. So that was the mantra that, The two schools that hate each other have about themselves when it comes down to the other schools in the conference.
Like I say, man, I can just imagine being 17 or 18, experiencing that, and just saying, "Hey, coach, where do I sign?" And and I think that's one of the things I think. And I'm not saying, you know, it's the greatest. It is a great recruiting tool. I'll just say that. And I think if guys were to experience that, if we could get every college athlete, college football player to experience that, and even Travis Hunter says this. I'll mention this. Travis Hunter mentioned that when he was being recruited by Deion. When he came for Jackson State homecoming that first year, he decided he was going to go to Jackson State because he said he just had to be a part of that. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
and that was the number one recruit in the nation. And so I think, you know, it's a recruiting tool that all HBCUs should use. Even if you don't feel like you could get the guy, get him on campus some kind of way. Get him to homecoming, get him on campus. And even if it don't work out that year, much like you, I'm sure there's a lot of stories that you're aware of where guys went off and then came back to HBCUs. It could work out at a later time, because again, I think with HBCUs, what I'm finding is that the relationship is truly forever. Like, it's not a transactional kind of thing like a lot of my friends who went to PWIs who played Division I football, whether it be at North Texas, University of Texas, or A&M, or wherever they may play. It really was a transactional experience. They played football, got education, move on to bigger and better things. With HBCUs, it's not that transactional. And do you think the culture appreciates that as a whole?
Absolutely. One of the things that Pete Richardson always would tell you is that this is not a 4-year decision. This is a 40-year decision. Once you make this decision, the people that you gonna meet here go be in your wedding. They go, go through, childbirth with you, funerals, everything else. You gonna meet an extended family. And one of the other things that helped is I went to a high school where I had guys before me to go off to different schools, right? And one thing, if you talk to guys that played at LSU and you start talking to them about campus life and college life, the first thing they bring up is like, man, we was on Southern's yard, or we was doing this on Southern's yard. Florida State guys talk about when they were at FAMU yard, and Auburn guys talk about Tuskegee. So if you go down here and you play football, but your most memorable stuff off the field happens at the HBCU, why not just go to the HBCU? It's something that's like I said, it's different, and those guys feel the difference once they go over to the campus and understand it. So it's an amazing thing. I will tell you this: going to Southern changed my life. Right? It changed my life because I met some people that were invested in me on the academic side, that taught me some things about networking and some things that have helped me tremendously transition from athletics and get into the corporate world and be very successful. And it's because of the lessons that they taught me. And it was very important to them that I came to school and got my education, because they looked at me not as a student, but you are one of our young black men. We need you. And that's something that you're not going to get at a PWI.
Yeah,
That
absolutely
investment
right.
you're not going to get.
You're absolutely right. And I can say this, just from having candid conversation with guys who I'm close to, they often mention the disconnection that they have with their schools. And even when they go back, it's really, I'm gonna say they go back. Of course, they have relationships, they have their teammates and all this kind of stuff. but that's what they go back for, the relationships with the teammates and the engagement of being a letterman. I don't know that it's so much the school and what the school gave them that they appreciate as much as the people that they played with for a brief time. But I a lot of those guys experience those same relationships off the yard, meeting at, different events, you know what I mean, that have nothing to do with the school or sponsored by the school. It's just sponsored by the guys who really care about one another, and they may meet on vacation or something else. So, but at a HBCU, I think you guys have a unique experience where you guys can come back to the school each and every year and kind of relive, rejoin, and reconnect. I want to ask you something else, BJ. After being a player in the corporate world, what made you get involved in HBCU sports media and eventually what would be HBCU Nightly?
I will be honest, I had no interest in being in the media. One of the things that Reggie Flood reminds me of, one of the things that my old teammates remind me of, is that I hated talking to the media. Was not a fan of it. Didn't like to do it. Didn't want to do it. All right. I was off coaching high school ball, man. Was coaching high school ball and working. Had got an opportunity at the time to go to the collegiate level and do some analyst work up at North Alabama. And Keisha Kelly called me. Keisha Kelly called me, and she, she knew who I was. She's a Southernite. She was doing a show here in Atlanta, and she asked me, could I come on and kind of talk some ball. I'm like, man, I ain't never did no radio or nothing like that. Like, I don't. Well, just coach, just talk. You know the game. It's okay. I come on and I came on and people was like hitting her up. Was like, man, who was that? Did you just had on? What was that? Like, hey, we need him. So I started in Ritz, just doing lives on Sundays. Just doing lives on Sundays, and it blew up. Started doing it in Rough and the Swag and Swag Sports Central, man, just blew up. And I got that next year, a guy from a website called College Sports Journal. He asked me to come on and kind of do some writing for them. And I did that. I did a little work in Birmingham on WJOX 94.5, just talking ball. A weekend show, man. It wasn't much, like an hour, Saturday. And then after that, man, Stephen J. Gaither, HBCU Game Day, he and Tyler Carr hit me up about, coming in with them. And that was what, 2018? So 2018, 2019, I really helped them kind of get their footprint into the SWAC, because before that, it was all CIAA and MEAC. And with me being the SWAC guy, it kind of helped them get their footprint in the SWAC. And like I said, I did that. And after that, I want to give out a shout out to the good Dr. Mike Prince, who saw something in me and had brought me aboard with him and did some work with him. And then Dr. Cavill, him and Roy, with Black College Sports, they came in and did some work with them, and I ended up meeting Josh. I never forget when I met Josh. He was doing a live on Twitter Spaces. I was like, man, when you play ball and you know ball inside and out, you know when people talking, do they know ball or not? And then one of the things that jumped out about him was like, I mean, he knows ball, man. We talking a little pass pro and different formations and stuff. And we talked, and he was like, yeah, I played at Central. I was like, I played at Southern. And we talked, and we hit it off that he was at one point the youngest offensive coordinator in the state of North Carolina, and at one point I was the youngest defensive coordinator in the state of Alabama. And we just talked about our, how we transitioned from playing ball to coaching and doing some things. And next thing you know, man, HBCU Nightly was born. Two guys that we kind of felt like in this space, there's not a lot of guys that actually played and coached. We did both. So we kind of felt like, hey, man, we got a way of breaking this game down and where people can understand it and yet it's still entertaining. So that was the thing. That's how it happened. It wasn't. If you'd have told me that I'd have been doing sports media, I would have told you you have nah, it's somebody else.
One thing I appreciate about HBCU Nightly is that you guys kind of also not only talk ball, but you also talk big ideas about sports and HBCUs in general, and you also guys also talk about the business of sports, and that's something I absolutely love. I had an opportunity this past week to interview Colorado AD and Rick George, and that was a great experience just to sit down and interview him and talk to him about what's going on. And I think we're in a time now that it used to be a time they kept the business away from the field, so to speak, in college sports, but now they're so closely tied together. I don't think that's a possibility anymore. What do you think about that?
I'll tell you, the business has been there for a long time. I think that the smaller schools are just now catching on to it. One of the things that occurred to me when I was at the University of North Alabama was that we took a trip to Tuscaloosa to sit down with Nick Saban and his coaching staff, but also the administration from the University of Alabama, right? And I'll never forget this meeting. It's been 10 years now. But their president said that from their season ticket holders, right? And at that time they had like a 10+ year wait for season tickets, right? Their season ticket holders, 60% of them have never taken a class at the University of Alabama. Not at any point in their lives. They've never taken a class at the University of Alabama. 60%. All right. He said, let me tell you what's going to happen with that 60%. Because for you to stay on the waiting list for season tickets in Alabama, you have to contribute to Tide Pride, right? So you have to give money to stay on that list. I think it's like $1,000 a year, or what it was at the time. So it's $1,000 a year for you to wait
on the list.
Then once you wait and you get the season tickets, you have to buy them on the list, right? And he said that most of their season ticket holders are people that make on average about $50,000 a year, right? We have this idea that these PWI people are just rich. These are just these rich people and they got all this money. And then I said, son, it does not work like that. All right. These people, blue collar people, they're just fans of Alabama football. That's it. Just fans of Alabama football, never taking a class. He said, but let me tell you what's going to happen. They bring their kids from the time they're 5 years old. By the time their kid is 17, 18, it's time for them to make a college decision. Guess where they're going? Alabama. There's no ands, ifs, buts, nothing about it, because that kid has been coming on that campus by that point, 10, 12 years. That kid may not even know what they want to major in, right? But they know I want to go to Alabama, right? That's the business that they were talking about. Well, we might not get your parents. It may be too late, but if we can get them on season tickets, and this is your family tradition, when it's time to you to make your school choice, you're going to come here. And he talked about when Nick Saban got to the University of Alabama. When Nick Saban arrived in 2006 to the University of Alabama, University of Alabama had overnight, they had about a little under 20,000 students, 19,000 students. But of that student population, 70% of them were either from the state of Alabama or from the bordering states, Tennessee, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, right? By the time Nick Saban left, Alabama had over 40,000 students. 25% of those students came from the state of Alabama or those bordering states. The Saban effect captured the nation. So now I'm getting all these out-of-state fees, these out-of-state, these kids from California. They didn't think about the University of Alabama, but because we win, we're dominant. And when your football team is on TV, that's a free commercial for your school.
3 hours.
The way that you feel about North Carolina is based on what you saw the basketball team do. What you feel about the University of Alabama is what you saw that football team do. They understood that. And I think now our administrations are just starting to understand. Some of them still don't, to be honest with you.
One of the things Rick George, the AD of Colorado, said, he said the job he took 10 years ago, I don't remember exactly how long ago he'd been the AD. And the job it is now is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
He said this. He said the job prior to Dion and what it is now is totally different. Because he mentioned those things. He mentioned the waiting list. They're sold out. The games are sold out for 3 years. All home games are sold out for the next 3 years. He mentioned the waiting list, and he mentioned the growth of the college. So it seemed. Now this is getting on my what I've heard people say with HBCUs. Nick Saban is the most popular figure associated with the Alabama University. Mm-hmm. Probably still, even though he's no longer the coach.
Still, he is.
My point in this is that coaches have always struggled with administration, with them being the face of the university post Eddie Robinson. I think pre Eddie Robinson, the coaches, it was the coaches were accepted as being the face of the university, whether it was Eddie Robinson, Marino Chasm, whoever it was. But in modern history, they struggled to be the face of a university with the president and other administrators. Do you see it that way as well?
Man, absolutely. I can go down a list of HBCU coaches that have been fired because of the president, right? And that's one of the problems that we have, right? Is that our presidents want you to know that they are the man or the woman, right? Most people can't tell you who the president of University of Alabama is, right? Have no idea. All right.
Don't care.
Dr. Peter Mother is 100% okay with that you don't know who he is, right? Most people can't tell you who's the athletic director at the University of Alabama. They are perfectly okay with that. There's no ego because what Nick Saban is doing is giving them raises. Based on the success that they are having, Nick Saban's got everybody a raise. And they understand big picture. Like I said, I can run down the list of people. Look at Jackson State. Jackson State's presidents and prime didn't have a great relationship. Look at what happened to Rick Comagee at Jackson State, right? Look at what happened down at Savannah State with their most recent coaching vacancy. There's presidents that don't care for certain coaches, right? And it's because sometimes, I've seen it where the president felt like the coach has gotten too big. And will make a decision based on that because of ego. And Cam Newton said something recently. The four most important people in the state of Alabama is the head coach at Alabama, the head coach at Auburn, the starting quarterback at Alabama, the starting quarterback at Auburn. Those are the four most important people. The presidents of those universities are perfectly okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. And it seemed, and again, I've heard this from a number of coaches. That struggle is real. Because here's the one thing that this goes back to a conversation Coach Cole and I had prior to us kicking off HBCU Coaches Corner. He was telling me he would mention these coaches, and I would always have to say, where is he coaching now? And he was like, well, he's out of the business. Asked him what he's coaching, he's no longer coaching. Asked these coaches. And so I did my own little hack research. I went back in 2022, 2023, and looked at the past 20 SWAC champions. None of those guys were coaching in the SWAC other than, of course, the spring championship guy, which was, you know who I'm talking about, the guy from Alabama A&M.
Cornell Maynor.
Maynor. Connell Maynor.
Yeah,
and I think that he was the only guy that was still coaching in the SWAC at that time. And in the last 3 years, I looked at a picture where the only two coaches that were still in the picture were, at the time, I'm sleeping. The coach from Southern that came from Prairie View to Southern, Coach
Dooley.
Coach Dooley. And
Eric Dooley.
Yeah, Eric Dooley was one. He was at
Coach Dooley.
He was at and the guy from Alabama A&M. Those two were the only two guys that were coaches in the picture. Everybody else had been turned over. And I guess in a way it was kind of different because Willie Simmons had came into the conference at the time, so he was retained from his university as well. So, but anyway, my point in saying that is that there was a complete turnover of coaches. As a person who probably grew up with more stability in HBCU coaching, what is your opinion of the turnover at the coaching position, and is that related to the problem that you spoke about just a moment ago?
I think all turnover is different, right? I think is case by case. You can break it down. Sometimes it's it's what we call politics, and sometimes it's job performance. Southern will fire you quick. All right. I made a statement on Twitter the other day. Winning games, but not winning important games, gets you fired at Southern. It gets you fired at Jackson State. It'll eventually get you fired at FAMU. Now, there are some other schools in the conference across the board. They're okay with you winning games, right? You win 6-7 games. But those schools that the standard is a championship, anything under that, you fail. And if you fail too many times, the fan base is going to be real apathetic. And then that's going to lead to you getting fired. So I think that that's the case in some places. And then I also think that there's some politics that goes on, right? We like to call out the PWIs for the politics that they have going on. We do the same politics. We do the same exact politics. The only difference is skin color is different, but it's the same exact, politics. We play the same games, and it's a case. President AD wants his guy. He's not a fan of the current guy. Current guy leaves. AD brings in his guy. He fails. he gets fired. He goes out with the AD, replace the AD. Now a new AD bringing in his new guy. It's the same thing. We like to act like our culture is so unique and so different. It is in some ways, but from that standpoint, it's the same.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you this. You know, I live in a Big 12 city, Waco, Texas, where Baylor is. And so I see how their fans do the face paints, t-shirts off, all that stuff. You from Alabama, you familiar with the gentleman Harvey Updike and all those guys. And I used to seriously think all that passionate fan stuff is white folk stuff. Until I got into this HBCU space and started covering HBCU football and realized that white folk stuff is right over here with all the black folks. They're just as passionate, just as ornery, just as rambunctious, just as mean-spirited, just as nasty. and there's no two ways about it. You know, I know a lot of HBCU guys will say we're not as bad, but I'm telling you, the things that I've seen, said, and done, and if y'all had a tree to poison, y'all probably would poison each other's trees too. And everybody knows who Harvey Updike Jr. is. If you don't know, he's the guy who poisoned the trees in Auburn.
Yeah.
The year Cam Newton beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl. And so he drove all the way to Auburn and poisoned the trees, and then called the radio the next Monday and told them exactly what cocktail he put together to poison and kill those trees. And what, about six months to a year later, those trees died. You know, and I think wasn't he put in prison or sent to jail for that in Alabama? So what I'm saying is HBCU fans are just as passionate about their schools. And so, and on one hand, it is refreshing to see that kind of passion about HBCU sports and HBCU schools. On the other hand, if they're that passionate about that school, I'm gonna ask you this question. I don't understand why it doesn't show up with certain levels of support sometimes.
I think a lot of times, man, we have to show up when it's not just socially important, right? Everybody shows up when it's socially important, right? Me and my mom talked about this. She was very discouraged and upset with the football product at Alabama A&M for the last couple of years. But one of the things that she said is that she looked down on the sideline and she saw the recruits, and the stadium is 90% empty in November.
Wow.
How is the football team going to get better if this is the environment you want me to come play in? Like, and we have to show up one. We also have to separate myth from fact, right? Fact is, HBCU graduates, we give to our schools at a little bit higher rate than PWI graduates, right? Difference is there's more of them than there is of us. And then you also have schools that have historically been underfunded on purpose. I'm gonna give you an example. BRCC, right? If you ever been to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Baton Rouge Community College, right? After Katrina, the state. So you've seen BRCC.
Yeah.
It didn't used to look like that. It
had a nephew that recently graduated from there. So, well, no, not recently, but before COVID. I mean, probably in 15 or 16. Yeah, really nice, really nice.
It didn't used to look like that 20 years ago. The state cut money from Southern and Grambling to build up BRCC and to build up UL Lafayette.
Wow.
Happens everywhere. Alabama A&M is in the same city as UAH. Alabama A&M and Alabama State had to sue the state of Alabama. And when they sued them, that was in the 80s. They didn't get their money until like 15 years ago. Well, that's when it was settled. But the state was literally pumping money into Troy, pumping money into UAH, pumping money into UAB, and cutting money from Alabama State and Alabama A&M. It happens, and we got to do better calling that stuff out. We've conditioned to give the white man a pass, but go extra hard on our folks. And that we when we tell that story, we got to tell the whole story, not just a little bit of it. We can always say what our schools didn't have, but if our schools, most of these schools were founded in the early 1900s, late 1800s, but then there's a PWI in the same city that was founded 40 years ago, but they got more than you. That was by design. That wouldn't just so happen. That was done on purpose. That was done on purpose. So we have to call those things out, and we have to take action. Look at Tennessee State. The state was literally trying to starve Tennessee State out. And then the state made an announcement that they're going to give Tennessee State these millions of dollars as if they've done something. You just giving them what you owe them in the first place.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I think us coming from the outside and evaluating just the sports and how they compare. That's one thing. It took me about 2.5, 3 years to stop comparing, because comparing only really doesn't allow me to appreciate what's been built by our people. You understand what I'm saying? Because what truly exists at HBCUs, it's been built, nurtured, and preserved all by Black people, all by themselves. You know what I mean? It hadn't been any infusion of support that created the atmosphere, the sustainability of those colleges. Even if what you say is true about Alabama State or Alabama A&M getting their money, it's only money that they should have been paid years ago. And to be perfectly honest, they should have got interest and appreciation on those dollars based on how long ago they should have been paid. So right. it was really, we always do these exercises of what was $100 worth what would $100 in 1910 be worth today? You know, a lot of times you say 300,000. Well, I'm sure they didn't give them the today's value of the money that was stolen from them. You know what I mean? They gave them the value, the old value, in other words. And so I just think that comparison is something that as a Black man, I can't do. I can't look at what Baylor has and compare it to Prairie View. I can't look at what North Texas or Sam Houston has and then compare it to Jackson State and Southern. I have to appreciate Southern and Jackson State for what they have and what they've preserved and what they've been able to build the last 100 or so years, man. And so, but it's a beautiful thing though, BJ. It truly is a beautiful thing. The sports are just competitive, and I think we're in a realm where it only if the leadership of the schools and athletic departments completely buy into what sports can be for the institution, there's so much opportunity for sports to be the engine that big time football has been for those major colleges if they truly decide to invest and say, hey, this is important, not because it's sports, but because what it does, the infrastructure it creates for the entire university.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely. I mean, sports is that's the front door to your school. That's the front door. I fell in love with Southern University from afar. Had never been to Baton Rouge. Had only gone through the state of Louisiana, but to see them, to see that blue and gold, to see that fan base, did something to me at 9 years old. That's the front porch of your university, and a lot of old school HBCU presidents. It's changing now. There's still some old guard in there now, Rock. They look at sports as a necessary evil. Right? If you ask most presidents, you pull them to the side, if you could do this without sports, they would tell you without a shadow of a doubt, yes, particularly without football. Right? If we could do this without football, I would absolutely do it. Right? But they look at sports almost like it's recreational. But people are now getting out of that, and I think you're going to start to see a youth movement with the hiring of presidents and ADs, with guys who are a little bit more savvy as to how it's done today compared to how we just used to always do some things. And I think once you see that happening, you'll see a lot of our universities pushing forward. I mean, look at what Morgan State's doing right now. And you know, Morgan State, North Carolina A&T, look at North Carolina Central. Look at FAMU. I mean, they shoot themselves in the foot every step they take, but once they get through shooting themselves, they stitch themselves back up and they take the next step forward.
Hey, we say they're the best wounded snake in the game, huh? You know, but
every time they shoot themselves, they get back up and take another step forward, though, don't they?
You know the thing that I admire about FAMU is those people are totally committed to the success of their institution. And if the fight, go with it. You know what I mean? If it take fighting, they'll do it. If it take kicking and screaming, they'll do it. You know what I mean? They don't have no, you know, and now the one thing I will say about, you know, this is just me, my observation of FAMU sometimes. They value their talent pool as Rattlers probably more so than they probably should, you know, because I think talent can be seen from all, you know, you don't have to be a Rattler to do a good job. You don't have, you know what I mean? And I think they really love Rattlers, you know. Other than that, though, man, I really love how they insulate and rally in those times where they're being threatened or attacked from the outside or even sometimes from the inside. I really like it, man. Now,
and that's one of those things that FAMU has. It can be a gift and a curse, right? It can be a gift and a curse, because when you start having these coaching searches, the first thing people start doing is try to look at who has a tie to the school. Who has a tie to the school? And sometimes, man, that ain't the best thing for you to do. A lot of times, that ain't the best thing for you to do. Yeah. And we living in a time in today's day, Rock, in this internet age, where you got kids committing to schools without taking the visit, and in the school 4 or 5 states away, having the tie to the school, having the tie to the state or the school means nothing. Now, having a tie to the school usually means that there's somebody boy on the board. They just call it what it is. That's what it is. That's somebody dude that's on the board. That's somebody in a position of power. That's somebody dude. That's somebody that they want. But you got to make that move where you got to go get the best available person, regardless of where they are, where geographically. And I'm gonna tell you something else, regardless of what color they are, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now, again, regardless of what color, I think sometimes it's going to be a hard sell culturally. But I get.
It is.
So this is what I think about white coaches at HBCU. I don't think it provides an advantage for the HBCU, but you know what I think it does, BJ? It broadens the network for the coaches within HBCUs. You understand? They become more viable options for guys. Because if a white coach is successful, he's going to move on somewhere else in HBCUs. And I think that creates an opportunity for a guy who otherwise would not get an opportunity to coach at a PWI, because that coach will recognize talent even when it's at an HBCU. And so, whereas, I don't know if you dealt with this in your coaching career, but because you're an HBCU guy, I think those coaches deal with being seen as a HBCU guy sometimes, and that limits their opportunities, their coaching opportunities, when it's time for them to look for a job, because they're not looked at outside of HBCUs for opportunities. And we all know that the bread that's being paid outside of HBCUs on the Group of Five and the Power Four level, all black men should look forward to those opportunities if they can get them, because that's a great opportunity, considering what the compensation is, in comparison to what it is at the FCS level. So, do you think bringing in white coaches could create more opportunities outside of HBCUs?
I just say, man, bring in the best available guy. I don't give a damn if he's white or not. There was a white guy that I was very high on a couple of years ago named Will Hall. He was a head coach at West Alabama, became the head coach at West Georgia, became the offensive coordinator at Tulane. Now, he bombed out at Southern Miss here recently, but at his stops at West Alabama and West Georgia, he had national championship contenders at places that don't contend for national championships.
No.
All right. Kerwin Bell was another one that before he got that job at Western Carolina, I said, man, somebody need to take a look at Kerwin Bell, right? There's a few white guys I feel like, hey, you might want to take a look at that guy, but I'm all about, man, breaking in the best guy. You know what I mean? And sometimes you gotta dig deeper. Sometimes you gotta go to the Division II, even Division III or NAIA level, and go get a dominant guy. That's what I believe. Also, man, speaking of white coaches, shout out to Coach Lane Powell, who just hit me on the inbox, letting me know that how could I forget that he was a recruiting coordinator at Bama State when I was getting recruited. I'm sorry about that, Coach Lane. Coach Lane Powell, that's my dude, though.
That's awesome. Now, BJ, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, being that you were a college athlete and been covering HBCU sports for a number of years, I came across this article. Well, again, there's a guy named Cody Campbell. You guys can look him up. He's a big donor for Texas Tech, and really he's single-handedly made Texas Tech a contender in this year's Big 12 run based on the amount of money he's donated and paid out to guys on the NIL. And he was talking about one of the solutions with NIL and pay for play, or whatever you want to call it, is that whatever system is created, we have to preserve. It should not include just men's basketball and football. It should include the Olympic sports, what I also know to be known as the non-revenue sports, what I also like to call them the welfare sports. What do you think about that notion, is that football, men's basketball, whatever solution is that they come to, should include the preservation of those welfare sports? What do you think about that?
Man, I would say, yeah. I got a daughter that plays softball and volleyball. She damn good at both of them. She's actually on the camp circuit right now. And she has let it be known that she wants to play at the collegiate level, right? I think one of the things that we gonna lose sight of, Rock, and if we are not mistake, if we don't do something about this, college sports is gonna end up killing itself at the major level, right? And we're kind of seeing it already. The thing that made college sports great was familiarity, regionality. Now you got USC playing in the Big Ten. Those fans ain't got nothing in common with the folks from Michigan or Rutgers. You literally have SMU playing in the ACC. You got Stanford and Cal playing in the ACC, right? And we're doing all this for money. But what made college football was regional. Texas A&M, they went 13 years without playing. They got Oklahoma and Oklahoma State not playing each other. You got rid of these rivalries, these matchups that you used to seeing because the dude that worked with me, this is my alma mater, that's his alma mater. You know what I mean? That, people in my family, that's and now we're getting to the point where we are professionalizing it, not just from a money standpoint, but how it's structured, right? And you can say what you want to say, right? There was something about the playoff last year that didn't hit like everybody thought it was gonna hit. Like it didn't hit like everybody thought it was gonna hit, and they're trying to fix it now so that it will. You don't want to be the giant that end up eating itself. Because now me and my dad talked about this. He said now it got to the point now. If you want to watch college football, if you want to watch college sports, watch FCS below. Because everything above that is professional ball. But if you want to watch college football where the conferences ain't being realigned, where you got a team in California in a conference with a team from Georgia, and they traveling 2,000 miles, and you trying to figure out why the game ain't as intense, why this environment ain't as intense. Because first of all, who making that trip? You see what I'm saying? Who making that trip? It ain't like we could drive the RVs, 4 or 5 hours down the highway. We come to your campus and all these things that made the passion of college football. We've gotten rid of it. Ain't no more Oklahoma, Nebraska no more. It's gone. Some of those things that we look forward to from yesteryear, they talk about Notre Dame and USC is about to be gone. You know what I mean? It's turned into the golden goose that kills itself. And one of the things that we do is that we let football control everything. And then we say, damn, we killed the Big East in basketball. We done messed around and we done killed the Horizon League in baseball. We done kill the West Coast Conference in baseball. And it's not something that people think about because we think about football, and then not realize that, damn, the Big East in Madison Square Garden, that was a thing. Big Monday, that was a thing. The NCAA tournament, the way that it used to be, Maryland when it was in the ACC, and we had those battles of Tobacco Road, that was a thing. It's gone. And now it's like those are unintended consequences that people don't think about because we let football be the tail that wags the dog.
Well, one of the things that created that was the situation that I just mentioned, BJ, is that they needed football in order to prop up those welfare sports. Like, again, football was always considered the engine of the athletic department, right? But in reality,
yeah.
If football is the engine, what were those other sports? Were they even headlights? They weren't the tires you understand what I'm saying? Like football was used and the revenue from football was used to play those other sports. And I'm not, and I understand why those Olympic sports or those welfare sports are important to the overall American culture. But do they have to be funded from the revenue from football and the revenue from men's basketball? Isn't there some other way? those sports can be funded?
Well, it can be, but you're not gonna like the answer to it, and you're gonna start seeing this more. You're gonna see more private equity get into this, and this thing I'm gonna remind you of as a business guy about private equity. Private equity is about the money. Private equity ain't about your product getting better. It ain't even about destroying your product or make it. It's about the money. It's about the dime.
The
Now,
evaluation.
what happens to your product after that ain't got nothing to do with private equity. We just here to make it may crash and burn. It's just all about the money. And I would say this. Most college presidents will tell you, you damn right those other sports are important. Because if you look at those other sports and you look where your millionaires and your next presidents and all that stuff come from, the people who generate, when you talk about athletes that give to your back to the university, it ain't the football players and basketball players. And I'm talking about on every level. There are some guys that went pro in some big sports to kind of help even it out. But even with the big checks they write, it don't match what those other kids do, because those other kids come to. This is something that I forgot somebody said on ESPN today. Those kids come to school to do school and play sports, and they end up becoming doctors and lawyers and everything else. Your football players and your basketball players, by and large, come to school to play football and basketball. Now, if I trip and fall into a degree, all well and good. But most of them, the degree that they get and the paper that it's written on is about as worthless as me writing the IOU to you on a piece of paper, right? So those people that they give the big money back. So I would say yes, that gymnast, that person that golfs, that person on the that's doing equestrian, that person on the swimming and dive team, those are your doctors. I mean, we can look at our university. Paul Duracell, one of the top agents in professional sports. He played tennis at Southern. That was a tennis guy. Mimi Copeland was women's golf. One of the top entertainment lawyers out in Hollywood. You want to see the checks that she write? And I got teammates that's coaching in the NFL. They ain't writing them kind of checks.
But this is what I would say, BJ. Those educations that those people were provided, mandated in some cases by Title IX, were done on the backs of kids that come from a socioeconomic background that shouldn't be supporting the kids that play those largely country club sports. A kid from the projects shouldn't supplement a kid from the penthouse's education. There's something inherently unfair about that to me, and it's bothered me ever since I was able to realize it back in the late 80s, early 90s, that these sports, football and basketball, were supporting, all the Title IX sports within the athletic department, and they refused to provide a kid with an extra sandwich, a hamburger, or some money for many years, at the same time paying the education of a gymnast, baseball player, or golfer who comes from a much better situation than your football player. And that was always seemed very unethical to me, and it was very disingenuous for the NCAA to frame it any other way. By trying to keep amateurism alive while being paid TV revenue, charging gate money. You know what I mean? Like, it was truly a business all those years. But they, until Ed O'Bannon sued the NCAA, it was it was all a scam and a front to support college athletics off of the backs of kids who largely come from socioeconomic disadvantage. What do you think about that aspect of it?
I mean, there's some there's some truth to that, but I will tell you this: even if it didn't fund that, it still ain't gonna benefit the kid that's from projects. He still ain't gonna see a dime of it. It like what he sees and is what he sees. One thing about college sports, man, particularly
I think
prior to
now
NIL,
we have a more equitable system, though, is with
yeah,
kids
but
being
even
compensated.
yeah, but even with NIL, you got a lot of collectives that are in court right now. You got a lot of kids that was promised a lot of things that ain't collected nothing. You got a lot of kids that their NIL deals, when you go through the contracts, are basically a high interest payday loan. But since nobody in the family had the scruples to kind of go through the paperwork, you took somebody word of mouth that, hey, Junior, come here, we're gonna give you this, this is gonna be 5 figures a month, and this, that, and the other. So you're seeing a lot of people in court now from NIL. So it used to be, you remember back in the day, Rocky, the agents had runners, and then the runners would come to your star players
With that
and try
paper
to get
bag
those
money.
guys in the NFL, right? That big bag money, right? So now the runners are now down at the high school level, right? And they're talking to high school kids, and you got a lot of parents that may not have the education. My parents were different. My parents had both graduated. We graduated from college and both went and got masters. You know what I'm saying? I grew up the kid of a civil engineer and a nurse practitioner, right? So my situation was a little different, right? So if you came to me, my parents had the foresight to kind of look through some things. You got some kids that if I got to get this NIL money, 60% of that got to go back to the house to take care of mama and the rest of the. So a lot of people are taking people on face value, and you got kids that are taking these deals that when you look at them, kids, you're gonna be in debt for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? My nephew is at Tennessee right now. Right. He's a freshman. He signed in December, started school early. And one of the things that my brother and my sister-in-law did when he got there was got him a financial advisor. They sat down with the financial advisor. My nephew sat down with the financial advisor. And one of the things that he told me and Josh was this. He said, "Unc, I can tell the difference with this money based on where a kid comes from." He said the kids that look like me, that don't come from the best circumstances, their parents are in the coach's office every week, but they got Louis Vuitton purses, they got ice on their wrist and their necklace, they want more money, right? He said, "I'm gonna tell you like this: the white boys, you don't even know they got the money. They ain't spending it on nothing. They might buy a truck, they might buy a rifle. That's about it. After that, you don't know they got the money." He said, "Man, he got some teammates. They go to I forgot the name of the restaurant. We went there. We was in Knoxville, but this restaurant, a plate go run you about $125. Appetizer go run you about $80. When you come out of there, if you go with your wife, you go spend about $300 or $400." He said he got some cats from Memphis that they don't come from that's in there so much that the staff know them by name.
Wow.
You got cats that's pulling up to the football office and Maybach trucks and stuff like that, and nobody's talking to them, and they ain't making that much money, but everybody is. You can't take the money back. We said we wanted them to get paid, but you know what else? When we said we wanted them to get paid, you know what the school said? The financial education ain't on us. You said that you wanted them to get paid. They are paid. So now the education and the financial literacy, they don't fall on us. And that's something that pisses me off when it comes down to these schools, because I've seen some kids already get messed up on this NIL stuff real bad. One right here in the city of Atlanta, they went to University of Georgia. That's an world of hurt because of NIL right now.
You know, BJ, I understand what you're saying, and there is a concern about the kids being properly educated and prepared for the situation or circumstance that they've been put in financially. But I can't forget, and you know this. You come from a great background. Shout out to your mother and father for providing a tremendous life for you and your sibling. But those people who grew up in the trenches and they get to go to, I had friends who grew up in the trenches. They went to Texas Tech. They went to the University of Texas. They went to Baylor. They went to Texas A&M. And they had a lot of nights, where they had to lay and go to sleep on an empty stomach or figure out how they were going, after a break, figure out how they were going to get home. And at the same time, just hours before, playing in front of 80,000 people, all of which you paid in to see them play. I'd rather them squander the money than them to lay in them dorm rooms on those empty stomachs, brother. I'm with you. I'm with you. I would do it. And I think sometimes when people come from a decent background, right? I think people don't understand how awfully unfair being poor and socioeconomically challenged on a college campus can feel like. What it feels like to be on a college campus with no money, no resources, and watch things happen all around you that you just can't be a part of because you can't afford to be a part of. To me, that was always a really cruel existence for an athlete. And then when you persecute a kid because he gets a hamburger from a coach or a booster, he takes a couple $100 from somebody, and you threaten to ruin his or end his college career. At the same time, he's not able to get anything from the people who make so much from his labor. And I just think that was unfair, man. I just think that whole system was unfair. But I think as a community, though, BJ, as a community, far beyond the school, as a community, we need to start preparing these kids that'll ultimately end up being in that situation and understand this. When you get to college, this ain't the time for chains and and all of that. It's the time for you to start executing your plan for financial stability well into, like, that money. I interviewed a kid from Texas Tech. He's an All-American linebacker named Jacob Rodriguez. And he I know exactly what you're talking about. And he simply said that NIL money is gonna be there for me and my wife when we start our life together after this football thing is over with at Texas Tech. Like, that's what he said. He says, otherwise, he says, it's going to allow his parents to travel to the games and get a chance to see the games and all that kind of stuff too. But he says, it's also going to allow for him and his wife to have a good start after being married. And I thought that was quite mature of him and quite a great. Another kid named Cole Wisniewski. He was an All-American from North Dakota State who transferred to Tech. Took a big NIL deal. And same thing he kind of echoed is that this money that we get in NIL is going to help me and my family. He said, right, when I was getting recruited by Wisconsin. I was getting recruited by Illinois. I was getting recruited by a lot of different schools. But one thing the NIL money allowed me to do is I didn't have to worry about my parents being able to travel to the game because I knew they could come to the game regardless of where I went, and I could go to the college that provided me the best situation rather than the college that was closest to my parents. You know what I mean? So all these things, man, and these weren't man, I got a fly in it. And these were black kids. I mean, these weren't black kids. Jacob Rodriguez in the black kid and Nicole Wisniewski in the black kid. Those are kids that the NIL money is helping. That I don't know what their socioeconomic background is, but the money helped them in college. It helped them. It helped their circumstances and also helped their family. So I just think it's a great thing, and that's what the money should be used for. It shouldn't be used for chains and expensive sports cars and all that kind of stuff. You put that money up in a bank somewhere. You use a little bit of it to enjoy the college experience, but if you put that money away, it'll be good. Get some of that.
You gotta look at it like this too, Rock. Because I think this thing about the NIL discussion, I tell people, the NIL discussion has exposed our inability to have conversations with nuance. People think that it's all this or all that. All right. When you say anything bad, oh, you don't want the children to get money. That ain't what I say, or if you say something else, it's nuance, right? Imagine Rock being 18 years old. And immediately at 18 to 17 years old, now you're responsible for the well-being of your family. Not a family that you created, that you went and got married and you created a family. This was part of your plan. Now you mommy and daddy are looking to you to take care of them and everyone else because now you become the breadwinner at 18 years old. That's a lot of pressure on the child. And one of the things you brought up is that we have to educate these children, but we got to educate a lot of these parents.
True.
We have to educate a lot of these parents because the kids are only going based on what they know and what they've seen. And my dad would always say, if you ain't never seen better, you ain't never been taught better, you don't know any better.
Absolutely.
People may feel like you do, but you don't. And there are some schools, Rock, that they are trying to get that education out there for the kids. But the majority of them, and I'm talking about big time college football, because I got another nephew, my nephew that signed with Tennessee this past year was a 4-star. His brother is a 5-star and top 3 recruit in the nation in his class of 27.
Wow.
All right. So his NIL money looking a little bit different already. And I'm telling you, the majority of these schools, big time schools, they're not setting up no programs for financial literacy of this. You have to do it on your own, which is why my nephew has a financial advisor. He has, one of those, and he's a smart kid, very smart kid, different, but like I said, he grew up in different circumstances. But the kids that don't have.
Is Georgia one of those states where they can get paid in high school?
Nah. They're trying to push it through. We go see, but they trying. Tennessee is one of those states, but you only had like one kid able to cash in on that. Mm-hmm. It's only been like one kid able to cash in on that. But man, we got to educate the parents too, man. Because we're seeing too many of our parents that come from those backgrounds where now since Junior made it, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna do all of this, and we're gonna spend all the Junior money up. And you're not, that ain't the best mentality to have. When you're able-bodied and you can work, and you decided that I ain't gonna do this no more. We just gonna spend Junior money. Junior,
the crazy thing is, I know some schools in Texas for a fact that every kid on the team gets $400,000.
Yeah.
Every kid on the team, regardless of what star you are, if you're a scholarship player, you get $400,000. That's the start. That's the floor.
Yeah. It's $25,000 a month at the University of Tennessee. That's the floor. $25,000 a month. Yeah, $25,000 a month.
So I don't. With that being the case, it didn't surprise me what schools played in the national championship in the playoffs. If that's the kind of money they're investing, on a
Mhm.
in a college football team. Like, because
Man,
I
it's revenue
remember,
sharing, taking it to another level because
wow.
some of the schools have kind of set their levels. So I know at Tennessee, it's $25,000 a month. As your production increase, what you get paid per month also increases. And then this also it don't get offset. So let's say if you go out and you get your deal with Gatorade or somewhere else, some car lot, so you get that and what you get from revenue sharing from the University of Tennessee.
Hey, this is the last question because I know we've been at it a while, BJ. What do you think about the FCS schools, particularly the SWAC and MEAC, opting into the house settlement?
I would tell them make sure that you know what you opted in or opted out into. And I talked to a few coaches. Got a couple of friends that are coaches in the FCS level. NIL looks different at the FCS level. Like it looks completely different. We talking about the kid that's on the bench in Tennessee that you don't know his name is making $25,000 a month.
Wow.
All right. The star at the FCS level, most of them ain't making $25,000 a year.
True.
All right. It's different.
But what I'm saying is, how are they going to pay that? What is it? $3 million a year toward the house. Each school that I've seen has to pay $3 million a year. And I'm asking, like, there are some schools in the SWAC, from what I understand, that's nearly their entire athletic budget, $3 million.
Mississippi Valley, Alcorn. Their athletic budgets ain't too much more than that. So I'm when that came out, I was always in wait and see mode. Wait and see. Because the thing about this the SWAC is that everybody's financial situation ain't the same. Valley ain't in the same financial boat as Prairie View. All right. Alcorn, even though their abbreviation is ASU, they ain't in the same financial boat as Bama State. Like they're not. So that was one of those things where they said that the conference is gonna do it as a whole. The first thing I thought about was we were talking about Mississippi Valley with the lowest budget in Division I sports, playing Division I sports with a budget that if they were in the SIAC would be in the bottom half of the SIAC in Division II. And they're opting in.
Where's the SWAC?
Like that's one of those things where it's like, hey man.
Where's the SWAC getting $24 million annually to pay the NCAA? Where's that money coming from?
I have no idea. I am a X's and O's guy.
No.
I leave the business side, the sports to Josh.
No, but I'm just saying if the again, starting your year out with a $24 million bill that you're gonna have to fulfill at some point for a conference. That's a
lot.
That's a lot, man.
That's
penny. A lot. Yeah, man. Hey, BJ, man, you done went an hour and 38 minutes, man. This is more time that I had allotted for you, man, but we were having such a great conversation, bro. I appreciate you giving me this time, man. Before you go, make sure you tell everybody where they can find you, and if there are any parting words you want to say, go ahead, man.
First of all, man, Rock, man, I appreciate you inviting me on, man. You one of my favorite people to listen to in the space, man. You and Coach Cole, man. I gotta get in contact with Coach Cole because that's one of those guys that really has watched me grow up. Watched me from 18 years old, 17 years old when first met him, and his brother LC Cole. So, man, my birthday is on Friday, man. I'll be 40 on
Happy
Friday.
Birthday,
They
my
have
brother.
literally appreciate it. They have literally watched me grow up. Coach Lane Powell, Coach Terrence Graves, Coach Eric Dooley. Some of these coaches that are around this conference have literally watched me grow up, and appreciative of all those guys. And I appreciate you, Rock. Rock called me, man. I was in Puerto Rico with my wife, and then I was like, man, Rock, man, I got my wife's birthday and then anniversary, then my birthday, man. I do a lot of traveling during the summer. Sad man, but I promise you, man, when I get some time, man, I'm gonna chop it up with you, man. So that's what I did, man. But um, getting ready to get everything started, man. I know Swipe Media Day, all that stuff's getting ready to come up. People ask me like, when y'all gonna start HBCU Nightly? We got an announcement coming shortly about HBCU Nightly. Shout out to my brother Josh. He and his wife Cherish just welcomed in a beautiful baby girl.
Shout out to Josh, man.
About a week ago. So man, me and Josh always tell people, man, we family men first. We get to the sports when after that we got to take care of some stuff. And one of the things that I did, Rock, is I had to promise my wife that I would take summers off. All right. So she real, but I told about this, and she was like, okay, cool. Yeah, we could do that. So I came here to be with you, man. But Rock, man, you keep doing what you're doing. And I don't care about you being an outsider, man. You came in and you have had some hellified shows, man. And you came in with that football knowledge. And one thing I like about you, Rock, you always thinking outside of the box. You always thinking outside of the box.
Is that a slick way of saying I'm crazy, man?
No, you have some radical ideas that
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The way that the climate's changing ain't as radical as people would think they are. Man. So man, you keep doing what you're doing, man. Anytime you want me to come on, man, I'll be here. And we'd love to have you on HBCU Nightly, man. Come on with us, and chop it up and have a good time. And man, shout out to my boy Coach Cole, man. I gotta get up with my boy Coach Cole.
Yeah, me and Coach Cole had a long conversation today, man, about some of the things that we talked about today. And I'll definitely give him a call and let he may be watching that. I didn't know you guys had that close. See, that's one thing I'm learning about this HBCU stuff, man. You can't really be talking behind nobody back because everybody knows everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't realize that you guys had that close connection about him knowing you and being and recruiting you and things like that. That's all, man. That's a dope story. I got to get you on HBCU Coach's Corner. See, I thought you were just a media guy. That's why I brought you on with me. If you a coach, then you get to come on Coach's Corner. So so that definitely I'm gonna have you on a little. And I didn't talk a lot. We didn't talk a lot of football about predictions and all that kind of stuff. For me, it's way too early for that nonsense. Not nonsense, but you know what I mean. It's way too early.
Right.
Plus, I'm sure there's a lot of things, a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas you want to unveil on your own show or whatever. So, but I just wanted the people, my audience, the off-script audience, to get a chance to know who you are, get a chance to hear you talk, because you're one of those guys that I like to listen to, because you give a more holistic presentation when you're addressing the subject. You're not just talking about the outside zone and folding the guard around, all that kind of stuff, which I love that football nerd stuff. You can talk about how the culture is impacted by sports, and how the culture is impacted by sports, and how sports impact the culture. Big ideas like that I like talking about as well. So that's why I like listening to you. There's enough guys talking about touchdowns, field goals, and interceptions. You're one of the guys who can talk about so much more than that, and that's why I appreciate listening to you and Josh, for that matter, on HBCU Nightly.
I appreciate that, Rock, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
Get that fixed, man, because I know I was born in Texas, Rock, so I know what Texas heat like. I'm from Tarrant County, Arlington, Texas.
Oh, man.
Arlington, Texas.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly where.
Yeah.
Hey, back when, let me see. No, you weren't there. Oh, it was fully developed when you were born. Like I say, you were born in 95. No.
Yeah.
In
85.
Yeah, it was. Hey, it was fully
85.
developed when you were born. It wasn't pastures and farmland back then. They already built a GM by that time, huh? By the time you were born.
GM, Six Flags.
Oh yeah,
Ranger Stadium, all that stuff.
Yeah. I was there not too long ago, man. the way they built that area out is absolutely phenomenal. Texas Live, the stadium,
Oh man,
all
it's
that,
crazy.
man. That's it. That's crazy. If anybody gets a chance to go to Jerry World and everything around Jerry World, it is absolutely phenomenal. Hey, this is something I never asked you, and I've tried to get an idea of who you follow, and I haven't been able to get an idea. What's your NFL team?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, that's why I didn't.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
I know goddamn well that's why I didn't. That ain't no team. How you become a? Is it Mel Blunt or how do you become a Pittsburgh Steelers fan?
So growing up in Arlington, everybody was a Cowboys fan, right? My mom a Cowboys fan. My dad was my dad's a Raiders fan. My dad would love Jack Tatum. So he was a Raiders fan. He never converted over. And when we lived out there, my dad actually worked for the city of Arlington, civil engineer for the city. So we used to get tickets to go to the games in Irving for the Cowboys, right? And if the Raiders came to town or the Steelers came to town, we was there. I just was always a Steelers. So I got family in Pittsburgh too. And my first NFL game that I went to, I think I was like 5, 6 years old, was a Steeler game, and see the terrible towels and all of that, man. I was like, yeah, I'm a Steeler fan. And then learning about the history of none and drafting the HBCU players, and it just made me more of a Pittsburgh guy. But I still go back home to Arlington a few times a year. And drive down on Collins and see Jerry World. Because I grew up literally right down the road from where Jerry World is now, and I still got family, in that Arlington and Mansfield area. So, they all Cowboy fans. They are all Cowboy fans. They are Cowboy fans, die hard. My mom's sister and my uncle, man, they tailgate every home game. They are Cowboys. My mom is a Cowboy fan. Like she will tell you. This Dallas Cowboys over
lovely woman
all day. But I'm on Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Them Steelers.
All right. Hey, well, you about in the same situation I'm in. Not as bad though. Y'all won a Super Bowl since we won one, but coincidentally, the last one we won was against the Steelers. So
it was against the Steelers. It was
on my 26th.
You should be writing Neil O'Donnell a thank you card every day, every year. Write Neil O'Donnell a thank you card.
That was my 26th birthday, man. That's a long time ago, brother. That was a long time ago. And I'm an old man.
You want me to tell you how old I was then, Rock? You want me to tell you how old I was then?
No, you were 11. You were 11 then.
I was, so that was 96. And I hadn't even turned 11. I was 10 because I didn't turn 11 until July.
Oh yeah. Now when I was 10 and the Steelers beat the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, I cried after that game. I hope you didn't cry after that game.
I was mad, bro. I was so mad because you got to think I was living in Arlington. I mean, I was living in Texas, right? We moved to Texas. I got to high school, so I had to go back to school the next day, and that was the thing I remember about Pittsburgh losing is, bro, I had to go to school the next day, and they was waiting on me. You hear me? Like they was waiting on me. Everybody was waiting on me. Yeah, that was a rough week.
Yeah,
that was a rough week.
Yeah, it's been a rough 30 years for me, my brother. I'm gonna be honest with you. My kids. Well, it'll be 30 years this upcoming year, but they were less than 1 year. They were 6 months old, man. My twins were 6 months old, man. Like I got
wow.
Yeah, so hey, bro, it's been a long 30 for me, man. So we got to do something here shortly. But yeah, I just wanted to know because I never seen you with the talk about the Saints, and I don't think you corny enough to be a Atlanta Falcons fan because all them dudes is corny who Atlanta Falcons fan. That they don't have no history, no coach. I can respect the Steelers fan for sure, bro. I can
The
respect that.
Falcons. My wife is a Falcons fan, and I don't know why. And I guess I can say that I might be corny because the Falcons, as of this year, get my money because I got my wife's season tickets. All right, so they get my money. But no, man, I'm a Steeler fan. But everything else, man, I'm Atlanta true. I'm a Atlanta Braves fan. Um, I'm an Atlanta Hawks fan. Um, support Atlanta United. Now I turned into a Hawks fan when we moved here because we got season tickets for the Hawks when we first moved here. Back in 2019. But before that, I was a New York Knicks fan. And you talking about rough? That was really rough being a New York Knicks fan. And I felt like as soon as I got off the Knicks bandwagon, they got good. I was real mad about it, especially this year. My wife kept saying, "Well, baby, the Knicks finally." I was like, "Baby, I can't even claim them no more. I got off the. We season ticket holders for the Hawks. Like you know what I mean? Like
You gave
we
up,
Atlanta
huh?
true. So I couldn't really be happy for the Knicks. You know what I mean? Because but now, man, it's like I said, the Hawks, the Braves, that's the local teams I cheer for. Outside of that, man, it's the Steelers.
Yeah, in basketball, I'm a LeBron fan, so wherever he played, that's who I ride with. And I don't have a baseball team, but around my house we like soccer, so we.
You don't like the Astros?
Nah, not really. No. I'd have been. I love going. It's funny. I love going to baseball games, but I'm not really into base because I can't watch it on TV. Like it just can't grab me on TV, man. It just mainly because
I'm gonna give you a nugget.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a nugget about me that a lot of people don't know. People who close to me know this. A lot of people about this don't know about this. Baseball is my favorite sport. It is not football.
Really?
Baseball is my favorite sport. I watch baseball almost every night. I love the game of baseball.
Could you play
baseball? Yeah, I got an opportunity to play at UAB.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I was good at baseball.
Oh,
when
yeah,
I got
you
the
were.
Southern Coach Pete let me know that wasn't gonna happen. So he,
what
that real quick.
Were you outfielder, infielder, catcher?
Play shortstop.
Oh, you
play shortstop.
yeah,
could swing over the third. Started playing it, man. My dad was a baseball player. The thing about my dad, man, my dad was baseball, track, basketball, football, just all of it, right? And my dad came through as a time where he was considered a freak of nature for his time. So my dad played at 5'10" and 235 at running back. And he was bigger than his fullback.
Wow.
And my dad also ran 100-meter hurdles in college. To let you know what kind of athlete he was.
Oh yeah, he was
at 235.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when we get off this phone, I'm gonna send you a picture of my dad, like his action pictures, bro. And you be like, that's a running back? Yeah, that's a running back.
Yeah, he was giving people the blues.
But yeah, man, my dad played baseball and all that. And he put he put us on that diamond early, man. Me and my brother, man, we put us on that diamond early. And baseball is just one of those things that I've always loved, man. I tell people, once you understand the sport, the strategy within it, man, it's a beautiful thing. And I used to root for the Rangers because that was the hometown team. We used to get the tickets. They used to pass them out at school. On Fridays, pass them out. You go to the Saturday game where they had all the kids in. But my granddad was a huge Braves fan. Huge Braves fan. McGriff, the crime dog, Terry Pendleton, all them boys back then. And that's how I became man. And that's how I became a Braves fan was my, my granddad and my dad. I became a Braves fan because before that I was sticking with the Rangers. The Rangers was my team. But yeah, man, baseball is actually my favorite sport. Like I'm actually locked in on baseball October, It's a beautiful time for me because you got baseball playoffs and football going in at the same time. Recently, you said soccer. I never thought I'd ever say this, Rock.
It's a beautiful game, my brother.
Soccer is exciting, man. Them some athletes there, bro. Them some athletes there, bro. Like we've gone to a couple of Atlanta United games, and I tell people, man, go see you a game like that in person. And I'm excited about the World Cup coming here next year. Man,
my oldest son flew to Atlanta last month to go see Chelsea play. I forget who they played, but he saw Chelsea in Atlanta, and so
okay.
He definitely enjoyed himself there. He's a Chelsea fan. I like Liverpool and Man City. So
okay.
And but I don't watch a lot of MLS, but I mean I like it. But for me, for some reason it's easier to keep up with what's going on in the EPL. There's more news about it. It's just with the nobody really covers the MLS like that over here. You know what I mean? So it's just harder to keep up with it, bro. But hey, like I say, man, BJ, man.
I mean, I have to watch. That's what I have to watch. I have to watch the Euros, but also, man, there's something about international soccer when it's country versus country.
Like
the World Cup and the Euro that's going on, or the Gold Cup. Man, I love that, man.
Oh yeah, and the World Cup is gonna be. Hey, man, with all the people traveling there in Atlanta, man, are you one of those people that gonna stay in town, or are you gonna leave town when the World Cup is going on?
Oh no, man! I plan on going to a World Cup match or two, man.
Oh, okay, man.
I live enough outside of the city where I ain't really. I'm in the suburbs, so I ain't really got to worry about the hubble you know, when stuff goes on. Because this was a crazy weekend right here, man. We had Beyonce, that's still in town. Then you got MLB All-Star game going on right now. The wrestling had something going on. So this was a crazy weekend here. But I live, you know, outside of 285, so I don't really have to.
Well, I'll be
trying to get in the city, but no.
I'll be in town on the 22nd for the Swag MEAC Challenge. I know you and Josh are really looking forward to that matchup. I know there's going to be a lot of trash being talked in between that game. And I'm looking forward to see who y'all gonna pick. I'm pretty sure who y'all got in those games, man. But has Southern ever played in the Swag MEAC Challenge?
Yeah, Southern played in the MEAC Swag Challenge in 2007 against FAMU. That was when my boy Mo Carter was out there. Came back, played in it in 2010 against Delaware State. Won that one. Came back, played against South Carolina State in 2017. Southern is actually undefeated in the MEAC Swag Challenge.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Undefeated.
We'll see if they can keep up the streak, man. Hey, thank you again, BJ. I'm gonna let you get out of here, brother. And make sure y'all check out BJ on. Oh, he's got a great Twitter follow. What's your Twitter? I know it's Inside HBCU.
It's at Inside HBCU F Ball. Inside HBCU F Ball. And follow me on HBCU Nightly.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Hey, much love, everybody. And I'm out of here.